Storytime.
Hey, loves.
Hey, sweetie.
How is everyone?
Good thoughts. Good.
Everyone got the long week. Katie, do you get the long weekend?
Been off this week as well.
Yay!
It hasn't
I'm
really.
going to be starting work instead.
I know.
Oh.
When do you go back? When's your first one?
I go back on the 8th, and then I'm working 6 out of the 7 days that follow.
Well, that's terrible.
It's pretty awful.
What's happening?
Oh, just like other people are going on holiday and I'm going back to work.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, on holiday, as in I get the long weekend, so that's nice. I am unreasonably excited about it. I don't know why I feel like I just need a break so much because I had a 4-day weekend like 2 weekends ago.
What do you do?
I feel like I need it.
Do you have plans?
Not really. The weather's meant to be okay. I will spend some time outside. I will probably do at least 2 types of Easter baking because I want to make a simnel cake, but also probably hot cross buns.
Oh. Oof. Oof.
Everyone should make a simnel cake, and apparently it's not a thing in Scotland. Like, they're very good.
I've never had one. I only know what they are because they were on Easter Bake Off.
Oh. My mom always makes one.
I think I've read about them in like Edwardian children's literature, you know, like when it feels like the kind of thing that they're always eating in jolly hockey sticks with the cousins. Let's eat simnel cake on our Holly's home from boarding school. You know that one.
So in case you don't know, a simnel cake is like a really light kind of fruit cake, except you put a layer of marzipan in the middle before you bake it. So then the marzipan layer in the middle, like, is just this slightly gooier marzipan-y layer of cake. And then you put marzipan on top. And then if you want, you can put marzipan balls on top that represent the apostles. Some people don't put Judas on because people don't really like Judas at Easter. But I do Judas anyway. But also I make all the apostles mini eggs because that's also better.
That sounds so tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And it's not, it's not complicated. It's just a fruit cake with marzipan baked through the middle of it into a gooey layer.
You can make our own marzipan.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, marzipan. Marzipan would be a good name for a hamster, I think.
Mm.
And be a good stuffed animal name too.
What was that, my love?
Which love?
All of the loves.
Asher, you go.
Oh, I bet hamsters would like marzipan too.
Oh, Asher, I like your top.
Cool top.
Yo. It's a
That's
dress.
very cool. Ooh, that's even cooler.
Like your outfit. Let's go with that.
Yeah, you look badass.
Yeah.
Will you just give us a fashion show one day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh. Who else have we got? Hold on. Hold your horses. Hold your flipping whatsits. Oh God, Neville was sitting there. Hi Peter. Hi Katie and Nick. Katie, what are you reading?
What does that say?
Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb.
Is his fate to kill people, or her fate?
Or her fate, or their fate.
Is their fate to kill people?
No, actually.
They're not a good assassin.
Spoilers.
Their fate is that their daughter grows up to be a better assassin than them.
Don't they always?
Relatable.
Yeah, right. We've got Lyric.
Hi, Lyric.
Hi, Ashra. Hi, Secret Andy.
Secret Andy.
Secret Andy. Hi, Secret Tara. Hi, Secret Carmen.
Yeah.
Hi, Secret Ian. And hi, Secret Mike and Pontiff.
Oh,
Boo.
Hello.
hi, Lyric.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, it's so nice to hear you.
There's the Andy.
There's the Andy. Oh, Andy, what you got?
What you baking?
What you got?
What you
Andy,
baking?
Andy, what you got?
You bake.
What you got, Andy?
You baking?
I'm not baking, I'm just putting the baking trays back into
Oh.
the place where they're meant to be.
Does that mean you did bake?
A while ago. I ate it since.
Ooh. We could have post story time cake. I bought cake today. I bought 2 slices of cake.
One was a
We had a baked New York cheesecake
with a raspberry top.
with a raspberry top, and then
Mhm.
I also got a slice of hazelnut and ricotta cake.
Would it be totally immodest of me to show off a cake that I'm holding?
No,
No,
show
no.
it.
Have you not met
It
her?
is, it's very hard to see. It will look better in a bowl because it is going to have a toffee sauce on it. It is leftover sticky toffee pudding cake.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
With now hear me out on this, with parsnip in it.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Controversial.
Is it as good as Catherine says it is?
It's really good. Also, when we had it for breakfast this
stuffing.
morning, it meant we had vegetables for breakfast. So, you know.
Totally healthy.
Storytime.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Goodbye. Goodbye, rhythm section. Oh, I'm so happy, everybody.
Yay.
Okay. I'm going to mute you. I shall mute you all. I don't know if you can hear that, but Zach's being very peculiar in the background. It's fine, he's gone now. Oh, Neville. Oh, catch-up crew, you can't see this, but Neville is showing us something that I would like to put my dick in, quite frankly. It looks so good. It's ooey and gooey and... Hold on. This is not what we're here for. Apologies. Neville, bad influence. Everybody. Let's have some story time, shall we? Are you sitting comfortably? And I'll begin. Chapter 5. Friday, 9th November. Oh, Zosie. There, I tell you. Just as I thought. I watched them throughout that tense little meal. Annie with her gleam of butterfly blue. The other, red gold, too young as yet for my purposes, but no less intriguing. The man, loud but of little account. And lastly, the mother, still and watchful, her colours so muted that they hardly seem to be colours at all, but some reflection of the streets and the sky in water so troubled it defies reflection. There's definitely a weakness there, something that might give me the edge. It's the hunter's instinct I've developed over the years. The ability to sense the lame gazelle without even opening half an eye. She's suspicious, and yet some people want to believe so much in magic, in love, in business proposals guaranteed to treble their investment, and it makes them vulnerable to one such as myself. These people fall for it every time. And how can I help it if they do? I first began to see the colours when I was 9. Just a little gleam at first, a sparkle of gold from the corner of my eye, a silver lining when there was no cloud, a blur of something complex and coloured in amongst a crowd. As my interest grew, so did my ability to see these colours. I learned that everyone has a signature, an expression of their inner being that is visible only to a few, and with the help of a fingering or two. Mostly there isn't a lot to see. The majority of folk are as dull as their shoes. But occasionally you can glean something worthwhile. A flare of anger from an expressionless face, a rose banner flying over a pair of lovers, the green-grey veil of secrecy. It helps when dealing with people, of course, and it helps at cards if money runs short. There's an old finger sign known by some as the Eye of Black Tezcatlipoca, by others as the smoking mirror, that helps me to focus on the colours. I learned to use it in Mexico, and with practice and knowledge of right fingerings, I could tell who was lying, who was afraid, who was cheating on his wife, who was anxious about money. And little by little, I learned to manipulate the colours that I saw, to give myself that rosy glow, that gleam of something special. Or, when a certain discretion was required, the opposite. The comforting cloak of unimportance that allows me to pass unseen and unremembered. It took me a little longer to recognise these things as magic. Like all children reared on stories, I'd expected fireworks, magic wands and broomstick rides. The real magic of my mother's book seemed so dull, so fustily academic with its silly incantations and its pompous old men, that it hardly counted as magic at all. But then, my mother had no magic. For all her study, for all her spells and candles and crystals and cards, I never saw her turn so much as a cantrip. Some people are like that. I saw it in her colours long before I told her so. Some people just don't have what it takes to make a witch. But my mother had the knowledge, if not the skill. She ran an occult bookshop in the suburbs of London, and all kind of people came and went. High magicians, Odinists, Wiccans by the score, and the occasional would-be Satanist, invariably acne-ridden, as if adolescence had never quite passed them by. From her, from them, I finally learned what I needed to know. My mother was certain that by allowing me access to all forms of occultism, I would eventually choose my own path. She herself was a follower of an obscure sect who believed dolphins to be the enlightened race, and who practiced a kind of earth magic, which was as harmless as it was ineffective. But everything has its uses, I found. And over the years, with excruciating slowness, I was able to pick out the crumbs of practical magic from the useless, ludicrous, and outright fake. I found that most magic, when it's there at all, is hidden beneath a suffocating drift of ritual, drama, fasting, and time-consuming disciplines, devised to give a sense of mystery to what is basically just a matter of finding what works. My mother loved the ritual. I just wanted the recipe book. So I dabbled in runes, in cards, in crystals and pendulums and herbology. I steeped myself in the I Ching, cherry-picked the Golden Dawn, rejected Crowley, but for his tarot pack, which is rather beautiful, pored earnestly over my inner goddess, and laughed myself into convulsions over Liber Null and the Necronomicon. But most fervently, I studied Mesoamerican beliefs, those of the Maya, the Inca, and above all, the Aztec. For some reason, these had always held a special appeal, and from them I learned about sacrifice and the duality of the gods and the malice of the universe and the language of colours and the horror of death, and how the only way to survive in the world is to fight back as hard and as dirty as you can. The result was my system, minutely gleaned over years of trial and error, and consisting of some solid herbal medicine, including some useful poisons and hallucinogens, some fingerings and magical names, some breathing and limbering exercises, some mood-enhancing potions and tinctures, some astral projection and self-hypnosis, a handful of cantrips. I'm not fond of spoken spells, but some of them work, and a greater understanding of the colours, including the ability to manipulate them further, to become, if I chose, what others expected, to cast glamour over myself and others, to change the world according to my will. Throughout it all, and to my mother's concern, I remained unaffiliated to any group. She protested, felt that it was somehow immoral for me to winnow what I liked from so many lesser, flawed beliefs, and would have liked me to join a nice, friendly, mixed-gender coven where I would have a social life and meet unthreatening boys, or to embrace her own aquatic school of thought and follow the dolphins. But what do you actually believe? She would say, worrying at her strings of beads with a long, nervous finger. I mean, where's the soul of it? Where's the avatar? I shrugged. Why does there have to be a soul? I care what works, not about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, or what colour candle to burn for a love spell. Actually, I'd already discovered that in the seduction department, coloured candles are vastly overrated when compared to oral sex. My mother just sighed in her sweetest way and said something about following my own path. So I did, and I have been following it ever since. It has led me to many interesting places, here, for example, but never have I encountered evidence to suggest that I am not unique. Until now, perhaps. Jan Charbonneau. It rings too nicely to be entirely plausible. And there's something in her colours, some suggestion of deceit, though I suspect that she has developed ways to hide herself, so that I can only glimpse the truth when her defences are lowered. Maman doesn't like us to be different. Interesting. And what was the name of that village again? Lansquenet? I must look it up, I told myself. There may be some clue to be found there, past scandal perhaps, some trace of a mother and child that may cast light on this shadowy pair. Searching internet sites from my laptop, I found only 2 references to the place. both websites dedicated to folklore and festivities of the Southwest, in which the name of Lansquenet-sur-Tarn was linked to a popular Easter festival, first held a little over 4 years ago. A chocolate festival. No surprise. So, did she get bored with village life? Did she make enemies? Why did she leave? Her shop was completely deserted this morning. I watched it from Le Petit Pinson, and no one came in till 12:30. A Friday, and no one came. Not even the grossly fat man who never shuts up, not even a neighbour or a tourist in passing. What's wrong with the place? It should be buzzing with customers. Instead, it's half invisible, hiding in the corner of the whitewashed square. Surely that's bad for business. It wouldn't take much to gild it a little, to enhance the place, to make it shine as it did the other day. And yet she does nothing. Why, I wonder? My mother spent her life trying vainly to be special. Why does Jan exert so much effort in pretending otherwise? Chapter 6. Vian. Friday, 9th of November. Thierry called round at 12 o'clock. I'd been expecting him, of course, and I'd spent a sleepless night worrying about how I was going to handle our next meeting. How I wish I'd never drawn those cards. Death, the lovers, the tower, change. Because now it almost feels like fate, as if this were inevitable, and all the days and months of my life set out like a row of dominoes ready to fall. Of course, it's absurd. I don't believe in fate. I believe we have a choice, that the wind can be stilled, and the black man fooled, and even the kindly ones appeased. But at what cost, I ask myself. And that's what keeps me awake at night. And that's what made me tense up inside as the wind chimes rang out their warning tone, and Thierry came in with that look on his face, that stubborn look he gets sometimes that speaks of unfinished business. I tried to stall. I offered him hot chocolate, which he accepted without much enthusiasm. He prefers coffee, but which gave me a reason to keep my hands busy. Rosette was playing with her toys on the floor, and Thierry watched her as she played, lining up rows of loose buttons from the button box to make concentric patterns on the terracotta tiles. On a normal day, he would have commented, made some observation about hygiene, perhaps, or worried that Rosette might choke on the buttons. Today he said nothing, a warning sign that I tried to ignore as I set about making the chocolate. Milk in the pan, couverture, sugar, nutmeg, chili, a coconut macaroon on the side. Comforting, like all rituals. Gestures handed down from my mother to me, to Anouk, and maybe to her daughter too, some day in a future too distant to imagine. Great coffee, he said, eager to please, cupping the little demi-tasse in hands best suited to building walls. I sipped mine. It tasted of autumn and sweet smoke, of bonfires and temples and mourning and grief. I should have put some vanilla in, I told myself. Vanilla, like ice cream, like childhood. Just a little bitter, he said, helping himself to a sugar lump. So, How about a break this afternoon? A stroll along the Champs-Élysées? Coffee, lunch, shopping? Thierry, I said, that's very sweet, but I can't just close shop for the afternoon. Really? It looks completely dead. Just in time, I stopped the sharp retort. You haven't finished your chocolate, I said. And you haven't answered my question, Vian. His hands flicked to my bare hand. I notice you're not wearing the ring. Does that mean the answer's no? I laughed without meaning to. His directness often makes me laugh, though Thierry himself has no idea why. You surprised me, that's all. He looked at me over his chocolate. His eyes were tired, as if he hadn't slept, and there were lines bracketing his mouth that I hadn't noticed before. It was a hint of vulnerability that troubled and surprised me. I'd spent so long telling myself I didn't need him, it had never occurred to me that he might need me. So, he said, can you spare me an hour? Give me a minute to change, I said. Thierry's eyes lit up at once. That's my girl. I knew you would. He was back on form again, the small moment of uncertainty gone. He stood up, cramming his macaroon into his mouth. I noticed he'd left the chocolate. He grinned at Rosette, still playing on the floor. Well, jeune fille, what do you think? We could go to the Luxembourg, play with the toy boats on the lake. Rosette looked up, her eyes bright. She loves those boats and the man who rents them. Would stay there all summer if she could. See, boat, she signed emphatically. What did she say? Said Thierry, frowning. I smiled at him. She says that sounds like a pretty good plan. I was struck by a sudden affection for Thierry, for his enthusiasm, his goodwill. I know he finds Rosette difficult to cope with, her eerie silence, her refusal to smile, and I appreciated the effort he was making. Upstairs, I discarded my chocolate-smeared apron and put on my red flannel dress. It's a colour I haven't worn in years, but I needed something to combat that cold November wind, and besides, I thought, I'd be wearing a coat. I wrestled Rosette into anorak and gloves, a garment which, for some reason, she despises, and then we all took the metro to Luxembourg. So curious to be a tourist still, here in the city of my birth. But Thierry thinks I'm a stranger here, and he takes such joy in showing me his world that I cannot disappoint him. The gardens are crisp and bright today, pebbled with sunlight beneath a kaleidoscope of autumn leaves. Rosette loves the fallen leaves, kicking through them in great exuberant arcs of colour. And she loves the little lake and watches the toy boats with solemn enthusiasm. Say boat, Rosette. Pan, she says, fixing him with her cat-like gaze. No, Rosette, it's boat, he says. Come on now, you can say boat. Bang, says Rosette, and makes the sign for monkey with her hand. That's enough. I smile at her, but inside my heart is beating too fast. She has been so good today, running about in her lime green anorak and red hat like some wildly animated Christmas ornament, occasionally calling, bam, 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 as if shooting down invisible enemies. Still not laughing, she rarely does, but concentrating with fierce intent, her lip pushed out, her brows drawn together, as if even running could be a challenge not to be taken frivolously. But now there's danger in the air. The wind has changed. There's a gleam of gold from the corner of my eye, and I'm beginning to think it's time. Just one ice cream, Thierry says. The boat does a clever little flip in the water, turning 90 degrees to starboard and heading out for the middle of the lake. Rosette looks at me mischievously. Rosette, no. The boat flips again, now pointing at the ice cream stand. All right, just one. We kissed as Rosette ate her ice cream by the side of the lake. And he was warm and vaguely tobacco-scented, like somebody's father, his cashmere-coated arms folded bear-like over my too thin red dress and my autumn coat. It was a good kiss, beginning with my cold fingers and finding its clever, earnest way towards my throat and finally my mouth, unfreezing what the wind had frozen, little by little, like a warm fire, repeating, I love you, I love you. He says that a lot, but under his breath, like Hail Marys delivered in haste by an eager child too keen for redemption. He must have seen something in my face. What's wrong? He said, serious again. How to tell him? How to explain? He watched me with sudden earnestness, his blue eyes watery with the cold. He looked so guileless, so ordinary, unable for all his business acumen to understand our kind of deceit. What does he see in Yann Charbonneau? I've tried so hard to understand. And what might he see in Vienne Rocher? Or would he mistrust her unconventional ways? Or would he sneer at her beliefs, judge her choices, feel horror, perhaps, at the way she lied? Slowly, he kissed my fingertips, putting them one by one in his mouth. He grinned. You taste of chocolate. But the wind was still blowing in my ears, and the sound of the trees all around us made it immense, like an ocean, like a monsoon, sweeping the sky with dead leaf confetti and the scent of that river, that winter, that wind. An odd little thought came to me then. What if I told Thierry the truth? What if I told him everything? To be known, to be loved, to be understood. My breath caught. Oh, if only I dared. The wind does curious things to people. It turns them around, it makes them dance. In that moment, it made Thierry a boy again, tousle-haired, bright-eyed and hopeful. The wind can be seductive that way, bringing wild thoughts and wilder dreams. But all the time I could hear that warning. And even then, I think I knew that for all his warmth and all his love, Thierry Le Tressé would be no match for the wind. I don't want to lose the chocolate shop, I told him. Or maybe the wind. I need to keep it. I need it to be mine. Thierry laughed. Is that all? He said. Then marry me, Yann. He grinned at me. You can have all the chocolate shops you want and all the chocolates. And you'll taste of chocolate all the time. And you'll even smell of it. And so will I. I couldn't help laughing at that. And then Thierry took my hands and spun me around on the dry gravel, making Rosette hiccup with laughter. Perhaps that's why I said what I said. A moment of fearful impulsiveness, with the wind in my ears and my hair and my face, and Thierry holding on for all he was worth, whispering, "I love you, Jan," against my hair in a voice that sounded almost afraid. He's afraid to lose me, I suddenly thought. And that was when I said it, knowing that there could be no turning back after this, and with tears in my eyes and my nose pink and running from the wintry cold. "All right," I said, "but quietly." His eyes widened a little at the suddenness of it. "You're sure?" he said, a little breathlessly. "I thought you'd want, you know." He grinned. "The dress, the church, the choir singing, bridesmaids, bells, the whole shebang." I shook my head. "No fuss," I said. He kissed me again. "As long as it's yes." And for a moment it was so good. The small, sweet dream right there in my hands. Thierry's a good man, I thought. A man with roots, with principles. "And money, Vianne, don't forget that," said the spiteful voice inside my head. But the voice was faint, and getting fainter as I gave myself to the small, sweet dream. Damn her, I thought, and damn the wind. This time it would not blow us away. Chapter 7. Anouk. Friday, 9th of November. Today I quarrelled with Suze again. I don't know why it happens so much. I want to be friends, but the more I try, the harder it gets. This time it was about my hair. Oh boy. Suze thinks I should get it straightened. I asked why. Suzanne shrugged. We were alone in the library during break. The others had gone to buy sweets at the shop, and I was trying to copy up some geography notes, but Suze wanted to talk, and there's no stopping her when that happens. "Looks weird," she said, "like afro hair." I didn't care and told her so. Suze made the fish mouth face she always makes when someone contradicts her. "So, your dad wasn't black, was he?" she said. I shook my head, feeling like a liar. Suzanne thinks my father's dead. But he might have been black for all I know. For all I know, he might have been a pirate, or a serial killer, or a king. Because, you know, people might think, if by people you mean Chantal. "No," said Suzanne crossly, but her pink face went a shade pinker, and she didn't quite meet my eyes as she said it. "Listen," she went on, putting her arm around my shoulders. "You're new to this school. You're new to us. The rest of us went to primary school. We learned to fit in." Learn to fit in. I had a teacher called Madame Drew back in the days at Lansquenet who used to say the exact same thing. "But you're different," said Suze. "I've been trying to help. Help me how?" I snapped, thinking of my geography notes and how I never get to do what I want when she's around. It's always her games, her problems, and her, "Annie, please stop following me around" when someone better comes along. She knew I didn't mean to snap, but she looked hurt anyway, pushing back her straightened hair in what she thinks is a very adult fashion, and saying, "Well, if you won't even listen." "All right," I said. "What's wrong with me?" She looked at me for a moment or two. Then the lesson bell rang, and she gave me a sudden, brilliant smile and handed me a folded piece of paper. I made a list. I read the list in geography class. Monsieur Guestin was talking to us about Budapest, where we'd lived once for a while, though I don't remember much about it now. Only the river and the snow, and the old quarter that looks so like Montmartre to me somehow, with its winding streets and its steep stairways and the old castle on a little hill. The list was written on half a sheet of exercise book paper in Suze's neat, pudgy hand. There were tips on grooming. Hair straight, nails filed, legs shaved, always carry deodorant. Dress, no socks with skirts, wear pink but not orange. Culture, chick lit good, boy books bad. Films and music, recent hits only. What to watch on television, websites, as if I had a computer anyway. How to spend my free time and what type of mobile phone to carry. I thought at first it was another joke, but after school, when I met her queuing for the bus, I realised she was serious. You have to make an effort, she said. Otherwise, people will say you're weird. I'm not weird, I said. I'm just different. What's so bad about being different? Well, Annie, if you want to have friends, real friends shouldn't care about that kind of thing. Suze went red. She often does when she's annoyed, and it makes her face clash with her hair. Well, I do, she hissed, and her eyes went to the front of the queue. There's a code in queuing for the bus, you know, just as there's a code when you're going into class or picking teams in games. Suze and I stand about halfway. In front of us, there's the A-list, the girls who play basketball for the school, the older ones who wear lipstick, who roll their skirts up at the waistband and smoke gitane outside the school gates. And then there are the boys, the best-looking ones, the team members, the ones who wear their collars turned up and their hair gelled. And there's the new boy, Jean-Loup Rambaud. Suzanne has a crush on him. Chantal really likes him too, though he never seems to notice either of them much and never joins in any of their games. I began to see what was going on in Suze's mind. Freaks and losers stand at the back. First, the black kids from the other side of the butte who keep to their group and don't talk to the rest of us. Then Claude Meunier, who stutters, Mathilde Chagrin, the fat girl, and the Muslim girls, a dozen of them or so, all in a bunch, who caused such a fuss about wearing their headscarves at the beginning of term. They were wearing them now, I noticed, as my eyes went to the back of the queue. They put them on the minute they leave the school gates, even though they're not allowed them at school. Suze thinks they're stupid to wear headscarves, and that they should be like us if they're going to live in our country. But she is just repeating what Chantal says. I don't see why a headscarf should make a difference any more than a t-shirt or a pair of jeans. Surely what they wear is their business. Suze was still watching Jean-Loup. He's quite tall, good-looking, I suppose, with black hair and a fringe that covers most of his face. He's 12, a year older than the rest of us. He should be in a higher form. Suze says he was kept back last year, but he's really bright, always top of the class. A lot of the girls like him, but today he was just trying to be cool, leaning against the bus stop, looking through the viewfinder of the little digital camera he never seems to be without. Oh my God, whispered Suze. Well, why don't you just talk to him for once? Suze shushed me furiously. Jean-Loup looked up briefly at the noise, then went back to his camera. Suze went even redder than before. "He looked at me," she squeaked. Then, hiding behind the hood of her anorak, turned to me and rolled her eyes. "I'm going to get highlights. There's a place that Chantal goes to for hers." She grasped my arm so hard it hurt. "I know," she said. "We could go together. I'll get highlights and you can get yours straightened." "Stop going on about my hair," I said. "Come on, Annie. It'll be cool. And I said stop it." Now I was beginning to feel really angry. "Why do you keep going on about it?" "Oh, you're hopeless," said Suze, losing her temper. "You look like a freak and you don't even care." That's another thing she does, you know, makes a sentence sound like a question when it isn't. "Why should I said. By now the anger had become something like a sneeze, and I could feel it coming, building, ready to burst whether I liked it or not. And then I remembered what Zosie had said in the English tea shop, and wished I could do something to take the smug look off Suzanne's face. Not something bad, I'd never do that, but something to teach her all the same. I forked my fingers behind my back and spoke to her in my shadow voice. "See how you like it for a change." And for a second, I thought I saw something. A flash of something across her face. Something that was gone before I'd really seen it. "I'd rather be a freak than a clone," I said. Then I turned and walked to the back of the queue, with everyone staring and Suze wide-eyed and ugly, quite ugly, with her red hair and her red face and her mouth hanging open in disbelief as I stood there and waited for the bus to arrive. I'm not sure if I expected her to follow me or not. I thought perhaps she would, but she didn't. And when the bus came at last, she sat next to Sandrine and never even looked at me again. I tried to tell Maman about it when I got home, but by then she was trying to talk to Nico and wrap a box of rum truffles and fix Rosette's snack at the same time, and I couldn't quite find the words to tell her how I felt. "Just ignore them," she said at last, pouring milk into a copper pan. "Here, watch this for me, will you, Nanu? Just stir it gently while I wrap this box." She keeps the ingredients for the hot chocolate in a cabinet at the back of the kitchen. At the front, she has some copper pans, some shiny molds for making chocolate shapes, the granite slab for tempering. Not that she uses them anymore. Most of her old things are downstairs in the cellar, and even before Madame Poussin died, there was scarcely any time for making our specials. But there's always time for hot chocolate, made with milk and grated nutmeg, vanilla, chili, brown sugar, cardamom, and 70% couverture chocolate. The only chocolate worth buying, she says. And it tastes rich and just slightly bitter on the back of the tongue, like caramel as it begins to turn. The chili gives it a touch of heat, never too much, just a taste, and the spices give it that churchy smell that reminds me of Lansquenet somehow, and of nights above the chocolate shop, just Maman and me, with Pontouf sitting to one side and candles burning on the orange box table. No orange boxes here, of course. Last year, Thierry got us a complete new kitchen. Well, he would, wouldn't he? He is the landlord, after all. He's got lots of money, and besides, he's supposed to fix the house. But Maman insisted on making a fuss and cooking him a special dinner in the new kitchen. Oh boy, like we'd never had a kitchen before. So even the mugs are new now, with chocolat written on them in fancy lettering. Thierry bought them, one for each of us and one for Madame Poussin, though he doesn't actually like hot chocolate. I can tell because he adds too much sugar. I used to have my own cup, a fat red one that Rue gave me, slightly chipped, with the painted letter A for Anouk. I don't have it now. I don't even remember what happened to it. Perhaps it got broken or left behind. It doesn't matter anyway. I don't drink chocolate anymore. Suzanne says I'm weird, I said, as Maman came back into the kitchen. Well, you're not, she said, scraping the inside out of a vanilla pod. The chocolate was nearly ready by now, simmering gently in the pan. Want some? It's good. No, thanks. Okay. She poured some for Rosette instead, and added sprinkles and a dollop of cream. It looked good, and smelt even better, but I didn't want to let it show. I looked in the cupboard and found half a croissant from breakfast and some jam. Pay no attention to Suzanne, said Maman, pouring out chocolate for herself into an espresso cup. I noticed neither she nor Rosette was using the chocolat mugs. I know her type. Try to make friends with somebody else. Well, easier said than done, I thought. Besides, what's the point? It wouldn't be me they were friends with at all. Fake hair, fake clothes, fake me. Like who? I said. I don't know. Her voice was impatient as she put the spices back into the cupboard. There must be someone you get on with. It isn't my fault, I wanted to say. Why does she think I'm the difficult one? The problem is that Maman never really went to school, learned everything the practical way, so she says, and all she knows about it now is what she's read in children's books or seen through the wrong side of some schoolyard railings. From the other side, believe me, it's not all jolly hockey sticks. Well? Still, that impatience, that tone that says, you should be grateful. I worked hard to get you here, to send you to a proper school, to save you from the life I had. Can I ask you something? I said. Of course, Nanu. Is anything wrong? Was my father a black man? She gave a start, so small that I wouldn't have seen it if it hadn't been in her colours. That's what Chantal says at school. Really? Said Maman, beginning to slice up some bread for Rosette. Bread, knife, chocolate spread. Rosette with her little monkey fingers turning the bread slice over and over. A look of intense concentration in Maman's face as she worked. I couldn't tell what she was thinking. Her eyes were as dark as Africa, impossible to read. Would it matter? She said at last. Dunno. I shrugged. She turned to me then, and for a second she looked almost like the old Maman, the one who never cared what anyone thought. You know, Anouk, she said slowly, for a long time I didn't think you even needed a father. I thought it would always be just the two of us, the way it was with my mother and me. And then Rosette came along and I thought, well, maybe. She broke off and smiled and changed the subject so fast that for a minute I didn't realise that she hadn't actually changed it at all, like one of those fairground acts with the 3 cups and a ball. You do like Thierry, don't you? She said. I shrugged again. He's okay. I thought you did. He likes you. I bit the corner off my croissant. Sitting in her little chair, Rosette was making an aeroplane out of her slice of bread. I mean, if either of you didn't like him... Actually, I don't like him that much. He's too loud and he smells of cigars. And he's always interrupting Maman when she's talking. And he calls me jeune fille like it's a joke. And he doesn't get Rosette at all, or understand when she signs at him. And he's always pointing out long words and what they mean, as if I'd never heard them before. He's okay, I said again. Well, Thierry wants to marry me. Since when? I said. He mentioned it first to me last year. I told him I didn't want to be involved with anybody just then. There was Rosette to think of and Madame Poussin, and he said he was happy to wait. But now we're alone. You didn't say yes, did you? I said, too loudly for Rosette, who put her hands over her ears. It's complicated. She sounded tired. You always say that. That's because it's always complicated. Well, I don't see why. Seems simple to me. She's never been married before, has she? So why would she want to get married now? Things have changed, Nanu, she said. What things? I wanted to know. Well, the chocolaterie for a start. The rent's paid till the end of the year. But after that, she gave a sigh. It won't be easy making it work. And I can't just take money from Thierry. He keeps offering, but it wouldn't be fair. And I thought, well, of course, I'd known there was something wrong, but I thought she was sad about Madame. Now I could see it was Thierry instead, and her worry that I might not fit in with their plan. Some plan. I can see us now. Maman, Papa, and the two little girls, like something out of a story by the Comtesse de Ségur. We'd go to church, eat stack frites every day, wear dresses from Galerie Lafayette. Thierry would have a picture of us on his desk, a professional portrait with Rosette and me in matching outfits. Don't get me wrong. I said he's okay, but... Well, she said. Cat got your tongue? I bit a little piece from my croissant. We don't need him, I said at last. Well, we need someone, that's for sure. I thought at least you'd understand that. You need to go to school, Anouk. You need a proper home, a father. Don't make me laugh. A father? As if. You choose your family, she always says. But what choice does she think she's giving me? Anouk, she said, I'm doing it for you. Whatever. I shrugged and took my croissant out into the street.
So I know it's against trend, but can we just call Vianne a terrible woman?
Go for it.
She's fucking terrible. She's lying to herself. What the fuck's going
What
on?
happened to her?
Andy, you're echoing, my love.
I have cables. Sorted.
Sorted.
I
Yes.
mean, the details were not important. It was mainly chunter, rant.
Yeah.
Rant.
Yeah. Howie.
I second that. She's being really daft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why she's like sticking with this. I don't know, whatever's happening to her. It's like she's fallen asleep in this weird nightmare and can't wake up. What is she doing?
Yep. All will
It's
be revealed. All will
The
be
dude's a
revealed.
douche.
Finishing. You just put your needle through like that.
And Annie picked up on it, but Vianne didn't. And
Yeah.
This is why it's important to tell your family when that you think they're dating a douchebag, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So don't get me wrong, he is full grade 100% cacao douche, but at the same time, he is being honest as himself.
And he's
as
just
in, like,
a dude in love.
he is being himself.
Mhm.
So I'm not like justifying his existence and blah blah blah, but at least he's not pretending to be someone else and being awful like Vianne is.
He's a douche, but he's open in his douchiness.
Yes, he is an open douche book.
Such a depressingly average, like, dick. Do you know what I mean, though? Like, he's just one of those guys. He's like the everyman dickhead.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing truly evil about him or, like, really terrible.
Yeah.
But he's that guy who talks over women and, like, believes in traditional gender roles, and you're just like, oh, it's just very tiring. Like,
also, he called her hot chocolate a fucking coffee.
That was the worst moment.
Yeah, I took personal offense to that.
Yes, me too.
That was just ridiculous. I also can't help but feel like, though, while he is to some extent an open douche. Am I back?
Sorry, I missed you. What was that lyric?
Yeah, while he is an open douche, I also can't help but feel like he's not actually in love with her. He's in love with an idea of her and what she can do for him in his life, rather than actually loving her.
Yeah.
And that, in and of itself, whether or not it's a conscious thing that he's doing.
Yeah, I definitely see it as like he like sees her and she's like clearly kind of in trouble, or like, you know, is like struggling, and like the business isn't going great, and she's got like, you know, bringing up these kids, and like that's kind of triggered off a whole bunch of like, I can like, you know, charge
Big manly man will save the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Let me and my big, huge wallet come save the day.
Again, how depressingly average and like common.
Yeah, Mike, that's true. And
Yeah,
there will be
like,
more.
Okay.
No, go for it, Lyric.
It's not like he's like, here, let me help you out with your business. I'll put posters for your chocolate shops in all of my buildings that I rent out so that people find out about it and come buy your stuff. It's, why don't you close the business and marry me?
Yeah.
Only I can save you. You cannot save yourself.
Exactly. Ugh. Listen, hold on. We should say goodbye to the catch-up crew. Catch-up crew.
Can we say goodbye grumpily for a change?
Should we say,
We're not mad at
I love the catch-up crew, Malcolm.
I know, but it's more like, look at how begrumpled we are.
No. We love the catch-up crew.
But it's
How
just,
about this?
oh,
How about this?
Catch-up crew.
Catch-up crew. We are begrumpled, but you are a shining ray of light in our lives, and you part the begrumpledness and make everything much better. How about that?
I think that's quite fair. And maybe marry people you want to marry, not because you marry the idea of them. Or
Exactly. Yes. Catch-up crew. Don't marry people who you don't want to marry just because they smell of tobacco and like someone's father. That's not a good reason to marry a person. It did sound like a nice kiss, though, admittedly, but that's not a good enough reason to marry anyone either. We were saying goodbye. Catch-up crew, goodbye. Catch-up crew, goodbye. Goodbye,
catch-up crew. Goodbye.
Boop, 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 doo, 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 doo.
Story time.